Stop and think about this for a moment. What if I told you that Napoleon Hill, the man who taught millions how to achieve success, almost never wrote Think and Grow Rich because of one person? Not a business rival, not a critic, not an enemy, his first wife. The woman he married at 24, the woman he spent 20 years with, the woman who, according to Hill's private journals, discovered decades after his death, fought his purpose every single day for 2 decades. And here's what makes this story so powerful and so painful. She wasn't evil. She wasn't trying to destroy him. She was afraid. And that fear, that constant resistance, that daily battle at home, almost killed Hill's destiny before it could be born. If you're married or in a relationship, what you learn in the next 15 minutes will either save you decades of struggle or explain why you've been struggling for years. Because Hill learned the hard way what most people never learn. The wrong partner doesn't just fail to help you. The wrong partner actively prevents you from becoming who you're meant to be, even when they love you, especially when they love you. Before we go deeper, comment right now, I choose alignment over affection. Because what you're about to hear goes against everything romantic culture teaches. But it's based on Hill's brutal personal experience, and it could save your life. Hit like, subscribe, and let's discover how Napoleon Hill's first wife almost destroyed his destiny and what he finally learned after 20 years of fighting. In 1910, Napoleon Hill married Florence Elizabeth Horner. He was 24 years old, full of ambition and dreams. She was 22, beautiful, from a respectable family in Virginia. By all appearances, they were a perfect match. Hill was charming, ambitious, hardworking. Florence was supportive, devoted, loving. Everyone said they were lucky to have found each other, but what nobody saw, what Hill himself didn't fully understand for years, was that they were fundamentally misaligned. Not in small ways, in the way that matters most. Their visions for life pointed in completely opposite directions. Hill had just met Andrew Carnegie in 1908. Carnegie had given him the assignment of a lifetime. Study 500 successful people over 20 years and document their principles. No payment, no guarantee, just opportunity and massive risk. And Hill had said yes. He'd committed to 20 years of uncertain, difficult, potentially poverty-inducing work. Florence knew about this when they married, but she didn't really understand what it meant. She thought it was a phase, a temporary project, something Hill would do on the side while building a normal career. But within the first year of marriage, Florence realized this wasn't a side project. This was Hill's obsession, his calling, his purpose, and it terrified her. Why? Because pursuing this purpose meant instability. It meant Hill traveling constantly. It meant financial uncertainty. It meant sacrificing present comfort for future possibility. And Florence, like most people, valued security over possibility, safety over growth, known comfort over unknown potential. So she started resisting. Not dramatically at first, just small comments, questions, concerns. Hill would tell her about an upcoming trip to interview Thomas Edison or Henry Ford, and Florence would say, "But we have bills to pay. How will we manage if you're gone for 2 weeks?" Hill would get excited about a principle he'd discovered, and Florence would say, "That's nice, dear, but when are you going to get a real job?" Hill would work late into the night writing in his notebooks, and Florence would say, "You're neglecting your family for this fantasy." Every comment, every question, every concern was reasonable on the surface. She had legitimate worries. They had 3 children. They needed income. Hill was often gone. The work seemed endless with no payoff. Florence wasn't being cruel. She was being practical. But here's what Hill slowly, painfully realized over 20 years. Practical concerns, when repeated daily, become psychological warfare. It doesn't matter if the concerns are legitimate. If your partner constantly questions your purpose, constantly reminds you of risks, constantly pulls you back towards safety and comfort, they will eventually kill your spirit. Even if they love you, Even if they mean well, the impact is the same. Your purpose dies. You become smaller, safer, more practical, and deeply miserable. Hill wrote in his private journal in 1918, 10 years into the marriage, I feel like I'm living two lives. The life I'm meant to live, pursuing this research, building something significant, and the life Florence wants me to live. Stable job, normal routine, present father and husband. I cannot be both, but I don't know how to choose without destroying our family. That tension, that internal war, lasted another 10 years. By 1920, Hill was 37 years old. He'd been working on Carnegie's assignment for 12 years. He'd interviewed hundreds of successful people. He had notebooks filled with insights, but he hadn't published anything significant. Why? Because every time he got close to committing fully to the writing, Florence's fear would pull him back. He'd take a sales job for steady income. He'd put the project on hold for months. He'd compromise his purpose to keep peace at home. The Stoics would have recognized Hill's situation immediately. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But Hill didn't have power over his mind. Florence's constant fear and resistance had colonized his thoughts. He couldn't think clearly about his purpose because her voice was always there, questioning it, doubting it, fearing it. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. But Hill couldn't be content with that because Florence's opinion mattered to him. And her opinion was clear. This project is foolish. This sacrifice is stupid. Come back to reality. Seneca wrote, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And Hill was suffering constantly, not from actual poverty or failure, but from Florence's imagined catastrophes. What if you never make money from this? What if we lose everything? What if this is all a waste? By 1935, after 15 years of marriage, Hill hit a breaking point. He realized something brutal and liberating. He had to choose his purpose or his marriage. He couldn't have both, not because Florence was evil, but because she was fundamentally opposed to the life his purpose required. She wanted stability. His purpose required risk. She wanted presence. His purpose required travel. She wanted normalcy. His purpose required obsession. There was no compromise that honored both. He tried for 15 years to find one. It didn't exist. So in 1935, at age 42, Hill made the hardest decision of his life. He chose his purpose. He told Florence he was moving forward with the project completely, regardless of the cost. And if she couldn't support that, they needed to separate. Florence was devastated. She felt abandoned, betrayed. She'd supported him for 15 years, and now he was choosing some books and research over his family. That's how she saw it. But that's not what Hill was doing. He wasn't choosing books over family. He was choosing to become who he was meant to be instead of who his wife needed him to be. Those are completely different things. The marriage officially ended in 1935. Hill was 42, 3 children, 20 years invested, and everyone, including his own family, told him he was making a mistake. They said, "You're throwing away your family for a pipe dream. You'll regret this. You're being selfish." But Hill knew something they didn't. The regret of abandoning your purpose is worse than the regret of ending a misaligned relationship. He'd spent 15 years living with daily regret, daily compromise, daily betrayal of himself. He couldn't do it anymore. After the divorce, something remarkable happened. Within 2 years, Hill completed the manuscript that became The Law of Success. Within 5 years, he completed Think and Grow Rich. The work that took 20 years to research took only a few years to write once Florence's resistance was removed from his life. That's not coincidence. That's causation. Florence's constant fear and questioning had been a psychological anchor. The moment that anchor was cut, Hill could finally move. Now here's the part that makes this story even more complex. Hill didn't blame Florence. In his later writings, he was very clear. She wasn't wrong to want stability. She wasn't wrong to fear the unknown. She wasn't wrong to want a present husband and father. She was just wrong for him, and he was wrong for her. They wanted fundamentally different lives, and neither could get what they wanted without the other losing what they needed. That's the tragedy. Not that she was bad or he was bad, but that they were incompatible at the level that matters most: purpose and vision. Here's what Hill learned through 20 years of painful experience. You can love someone deeply and still be completely wrong for each other. Love is not enough. Affection is not enough. Commitment is not enough. If you're not aligned in purpose and vision, the relationship will slowly destroy both of you. One person will have to shrink to fit the other's vision, and the person who shrinks will become resentful, bitter, and dead inside. Hill had been shrinking for 15 years, trying to fit his huge purpose into Florence's small vision of safety, and it was killing him. The divorce didn't kill him. The marriage was killing him. The divorce freed him. So what does this mean for you? If you're in a relationship right now, you need to ask yourself one brutal question. Are you aligned or are you compromising? Alignment means you both want the same kind of life. Not identical goals, but compatible visions. One wants to build a business, the other wants to support that while pursuing their own purpose. One wants to travel and explore, the other wants the same adventure. One wants to live simply and focus on meaning, the other values the same things. That's alignment. Compromise means one person wants something and the other doesn't, but goes along to keep peace. One wants to take risks and grow, the other wants to play it safe and stay comfortable. One wants purpose and mission, the other wants routine and stability. And you spend decades negotiating, arguing, resenting. That's compromise. And compromise on fundamental vision always leads to one outcome. Both people become less than they could be. Hill's mistake wasn't marrying Florence. His mistake was staying for 15 years after it became clear they were misaligned. Why did he stay so long? For the same reasons most people stay in misaligned relationships. Fear of being alone, fear of hurting the other person, fear of what others will think, hope that things will magically improve, belief that love should be enough. But none of those reasons were strong enough to overcome the daily erosion of his spirit. He stayed until staying became more painful than leaving. Don't make Hill's mistake. Don't wait 15 years. If you're in a relationship where your partner constantly questions your purpose, constantly pulls you toward their vision of safety, constantly makes you feel like your dreams are foolish or irresponsible, you have two choices. Have an honest conversation about alignment. Can you both move in the same direction? Can your visions be merged or made compatible? If yes, work on it together. If no, you need to make the hard choice. Your purpose or this relationship. You can't have both. And here's what Hill learned that nobody wants to hear. If you choose the relationship over your purpose, you will eventually resent your partner. You'll blame them for your unfulfilled life. Even though you made the choice, that resentment will poison everything. But if you choose your purpose over the relationship, you'll grieve the loss. But you won't resent. You'll be sad but not bitter. You'll hurt but not be destroyed, because you'll be living with integrity, being who you're meant to be. And that integrity, that alignment with your true self, heals everything over time. After divorcing Florence, Hill eventually remarried. His second marriage also failed for similar reasons. Misalignment. He didn't fully learn the lesson the first time, but at age 64, Hill married for the third time, a woman named Annie Lou Norman, and that marriage lasted 23 years until his death. Why? Because Annie Lou was aligned. She understood his purpose. She supported his mission. She wanted the same kind of life he wanted. Not because she was better than Florence, but because she was compatible with Hill in a way Florence never was. and that compatibility allowed both of them to thrive. Hill's work accelerated. Annie Lou found purpose in supporting that work. They moved together in the same direction. That's what alignment creates: mutual growth instead of mutual erosion. Marcus Aurelius wrote about his wife Faustina with great love, but historians note that she understood and supported his role as emperor and philosopher. She didn't fight his purpose, she aligned with it. That's why their marriage worked despite enormous pressure. Seneca wrote extensively about the importance of choosing companions who elevate you rather than drain you. He wasn't just talking about friends, he meant life partners. Epictetus taught that we should associate with people who make us better. If your partner makes you smaller, more fearful, more compromised, they're not your partner, they're your obstacle. Here's the truth Hill finally accepted. Florence wasn't a villain. She was a mismatch. And staying in a mismatched relationship doesn't honor anyone. Not her, not him, not their children who watch their parents live in constant tension. The kindest thing Hill could have done, for both of them, was recognize the mismatch earlier and separate sooner. Both could have found partners more aligned with their actual values and visions. Florence could have married someone who wanted the stable, present, predictable life she craved. Hill could have found someone who understood and supported his mission. They wasted 15 years trying to force compatibility that didn't exist. Don't repeat that mistake. If you're in a relationship where you're constantly fighting about your dreams, your goals, your purpose, stop fighting. Have the honest conversation. Are we aligned or are we just attached? Can we get aligned, or is this fundamental incompatibility? If it's incompatible, the loving thing to do is acknowledge it and separate. Not in anger, in honesty, so both of you can find someone compatible. Someone who wants the same kind of life you want. That's not selfish, that's wisdom. That's self-respect. That's honoring both people's right to live the life they actually want instead of the compromise neither truly wants. Hill spent 20 years in a marriage that fought his destiny every day, and it almost worked. He almost gave up, almost abandoned his purpose, almost settled for practical safety. His first wife almost destroyed his destiny, not because she was evil, because she was afraid. And fear, even loving fear, is the enemy of purpose. Don't let anyone's fear, no matter how much you love them, kill your purpose. Not your parents' fear, not your friends' fear, not your partner's fear. If they can't align with your purpose, they can't be in your inner circle. That's harsh, but it's true. And Hill proved it through 20 years of painful experience. Comment I choose alignment over affection, like this video, so others stop wasting decades in misaligned relationships that kill their purpose. Subscribe because we're teaching the uncomfortable truths about relationships and success that nobody else will say. And share this with someone who's compromising their dreams to keep peace at home. Napoleon Hill's first wife almost destroyed his destiny because they were fundamentally misaligned. Check your own relationships. Are you aligned or just attached? That answer determines whether you thrive or survive. Choose wisely. Let's go.